Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Before I Go podcast. Lately, I've noticed that for whatever reason, red flags are trending on the internet. There are countless numbers of memes floating around with the red flag emojis. Some of them are relatable, some of them are funny, some of them are ridiculous, and some are just scary. Red flags can be funny and something to joke about, but in reality, they can be very, very serious and should not be ignored. So why do we? Why do we ignore them? A red flag is not a signal to slow down and use caution. That would be a yellow flag. A red flag is a signal to stop. Do not pass go and do not collect $200. Just stop. So again, I ask, why do we ignore the red flags? One reason could be that we don't trust ourselves. We feel that something is wrong in a situation that was once so very good, and we just don't want to believe that it's not as good as we thought. We're afraid to be wrong about something we thought we were so sure of, so we ignore the red flag. Another reason is that we are operating from a place of lack. In other words, we believe that partners are in short supply, and even though we see the red flags, if I let go of this person, I will never get another one. This brings to mind something I heard one of the old church mothers say back in the day. Better to have half a loaf than no loaf at all. Meaning, better to have this awful partner than no partner at all. I'm here to tell you that is a lie straight from the pits of hell. I am single and peaceful, and I would not trade that for booed up and stressed out for anything in the world. And yet another reason is that you may have moved into the relationship way too quickly, and your brain and eyesight is clouded by the sex haze. Your hormones have convinced you that what you're feeling is love, and the red flags that you're seeing are just a mirage. Look, I'm not a relationship expert by any stretch of the imagination. However, I have seen and ignored my fair share of red flags. And one thing I know for sure, ignoring the red flags does not make them go away. Ignoring them just makes a bad situation worse. Unlike wine, red flags do not get better with age. Let me give you a few examples of red flags that I personally have ignored. Lies. I was with someone who lied about everything. It started out as little white lies, which is ridiculous in and of itself. Lies have no color, whether it's small or a huge lie. A lie is a lie. If a person will lie about one thing, they'll lie about another thing. Don't make excuses for a person when you have caught them in a lie. Take it as a red flag. A person who has no outside relationships is a red flag. I was with someone who wanted to spend all his time with me. Maybe you're saying, what's wrong with that? This was very early in the relationship, and he very rarely hung out with his friends. He had 2 children that lived a few states away, and on his time off, I would suggest that he go visit his children, but his response was always, I just want to be with you. This was a red flag because it was a preview of what was to come. I had no me time when we were together, and admittedly, I didn't realize how stifling it was. It's like the story of the man who put a frog in a pot of water and gradually increased the heat, little by little, and before the frog knew it, he was boiled to death. Another red flag is excessive negativity. You know the people who are able to find something negative about every single situation that comes up? You say, it's a beautiful day, and they say, it's supposed to rain later. There is never a silver lining. I was with someone like this, and after I got tired of constantly trying to show him the bright side, I would just keep my opinions to myself and allow him to cover me in his negativity. I noticed that my mood would go dark whenever I knew I would see him. Someone who is overly critical. That's a red flag. If you are with someone who is overly critical of you, red flag. I'm not saying that constructive criticism isn't good, but learn the difference between what is constructive and what is just a way to tear you down. I'm talking about every single thing you do or say is wrong. Never a kind word. Someone who makes you feel small. I was with a person who was so insecure with himself that he made it his business to take me down a peg whenever he had a chance. And finally, my own intuition was a red flag. My gut was telling me something was wrong on the very first date that I went on with a certain person. Unfortunately, I was told by a well-meaning friend that I was self-sabotaging and that I should give him the benefit of the doubt. After all, how could I possibly know after just one date? Well, my intuition was spot on, and so is yours. Trust your gut. It will never fail you. April May Monterosa says the red flags are usually there. You just have to keep your eyes open wider than your heart. And while we're on this topic, let me say this. You do not have to wait until you have receipts or concrete evidence to prove that what you feel is real. You don't have to catch your partner in bed with someone else to know that they're cheating. If you feel like something is off, chances are it is off. Trust that, and save yourself the time of hiding in bushes or creating fake Instagram accounts. Just bounce. Now, just to balance things out, in more recent years, there have been a few red flags that I did not ignore. I met someone right around the time I was getting a new job, and he said that he understood that the period between jobs can be financially stressful and asked if he could give me some money. Excuse me, sir, I don't know you, and I'm not sure what you're used to, but I do not want your money. For me, that was a red flag. They talk about sex during the first conversation. They're a bad tipper or rude to wait staff. They only communicate with you during working hours and almost always by text, never in the evening or on the weekends. Huge red flag. They speak negatively about their exes all the time. Like I said, I'm not a relationship expert. By all means, do you. But I know a red flag when I see one, and I'll bet you do too. Don't ignore them, and don't be afraid to stop, reassess, and make smart choices. Well, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for listening. But before I go, let me share this with you from Steve Maraboli. I wish the pain of betrayal was as easy to ignore as the red flags that forewarned it. I'll see you next time.